What's up people, how are you doing? My name is Dani and welcome to the first part of the speed build of AERITH'S house. And I should probably start by explaining who AERITH is, right? I know that most Sims players don't usually venture into other types of games, so I'm assuming that around 85% of you have no idea what I'm talking about. So, AERITH is one of the main characters from the popular, amazing, totally addicting Final Fantasy VII game, and you have the opportunity to visit her house a couple times in the beginning of the game. Well, I mean, it's the beginning in the original Final Fantasy VII. If it's the remake we are talking about, then it happens around the middle of the game. Anyway, AERITH is a florist and she lives with her mother in this small and really cute cottage house surrounded by flowers, water coming from a waterfall, and metal scraps resulting from an old accident involving a reactor. Our house left quite a big impression on me from the very first time I laid eyes on it. First of all, the house is pretty cute. I love it. I want to live there too. And second, it was only when I saw all the flowers and plants in that area that I realized just how much the rest of the in-game world is void of any type of greenery. It was like a slap in the face. You know, I played the game for more than 10 hours, yet I failed to realize that there were no plants in the scenery until the game shoved them all into my face all at once. That made me realize just how used I am to not see a lot of greenery around, be it in the game or in real life. And as someone who values our environment and climate, that bothered me quite a bit. But I'm sorry, I'm not here to talk about that, sorry. I'm here to talk about the house. So I knew right away that I absolutely needed to try and replicate AERITH'S house in The Sims 4. I knew it would be complicated, but boy did I ever think it would be such a massive headache. You see, this is the fourth time I've built this house. Yeah. You heard me. This is the fourth time. The first time I was using only the base game in all its purity. No mods, no custom content, no debug objects, nothing. I managed to complete the shell of the house, even if that roof almost made me lose my mind. I will explain that in more detail later. But I wasn't happy with the furnishing, so I threw in the towel before even trying landscaping. The second time I tried to build this house, I was already using the debug objects. I managed to do most of the furnishing and some of the landscaping, but I realized soon enough that I needed more than that in order to pull this off. I needed something that would allow me to better place and size the objects, and a couple months later, the tool mod came to the rescue. It took me a while to download it though. I had made a promise to myself that I wouldn't use custom content or mods ever again, and I was also very frustrated and demotivated with this build, so I kept telling myself that it wasn't worth it. But eventually, my stubbornness took the best of me. I knew, deep down, that I could pull this off, and I wanted to prove it. So I gave myself some time, took a deep breath, downloaded the tool mod, and tried to build this house for the third time. It took me several days, but I almost finished the whole thing. The reasons I didn't go all the way were, well, first, I had already done enough to prove my point, and second, I was struggling a lot with the tool mod since that was my first time using it. Also, I already had some ideas about starting a YouTube channel at the time, and I thought that maybe it would be better to save the finished build for the channel so I could show it to you and brag about it, because I deserve to brag about this. Don't even try to tell me otherwise. I built AERITH'S house with the base game only. I repeat, I built AERITH'S house with the base game only. Listen, if I can do this with the base game, can you imagine what I could do with expansions like Romantic Garden stuff or Journey to Batuu? I know a lot of people hate that last one. I probably would hate it too if I hadn't seen the object catalog. There's so much stuff in there that I could use to enhance this build. That is the only reason I want that pack, seriously. Well, I mean, I think it would also be a lot of fun to use the Star Wars merch to decorate kids' rooms and stuff. I very much look forward to that, even if I don't really care about Star Wars. But, oh wait, that's not the point. Sorry, let's go back. So yeah, you can bet that I'll go back to this build and perfect it every time I get my hands on a new expansion pack. And you, if you feel like helping me give this house its final ultimate form, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, okay? And if that is not enough to convince you, then let me tell you the tale of my adventure with this house. As I mentioned in the title and the beginning of this video, this is just the first part of the build, where you will see me build the shell of the house and do all of the landscaping. The furnishing will be in part 2, because the landscaping alone took me around 6 hours to complete. No, I'm not kidding. 6 hours just for landscaping. My computer was even struggling a little by the end of it, so if you have a lower end computer, I would advise you against downloading this from the gallery. Actually, can I even upload this to the gallery? I'm pretty sure there's a limit to the file size that you can upload to the gallery, and there's a pretty high chance that I will exceed that limit once the house is complete. Well, shit, I forgot about that. I'm an idiot. Well, it's too late to back down now. I will complete this build either way. My life depends on it. I will think about a solution later. And I got sidetracked again. Focus, Danny. Jeez. So, building the shell itself was not that complicated, since the shape of the house is pretty simple. I mean, there were a few things that didn't make sense, but it's the usual thing with houses from video games or TV shows, where the outside shape of the house doesn't match with its inside shape. In this case, well, actually, you know what? I will talk about that in the next part. It will be easier to explain then, because right now I don't have any references to give you. Also, I need something to talk about on the next video, right? So, in this one, let's talk about the biggest hurdle of this build instead. The roof. You guys have no idea how many hours I spent fiddling with that roof. Like, using the half-gabled roof to put most of the roof together was the obvious choice. The problem lied with those bump outs with the windows. I tried to do those so many times in so many different ways. I wanted the house to look as close to the original as possible because, you know, I'm a perfectionist, but given the Sims 4 limitations, this was the best I could do. I had to make some pretty tough choices between what looks the most similar to the original and what looks better or works better in The Sims, and I almost always went for what works better. I mentioned this before, it's really important to me that all my builds are functional, because if I can't play in them, then there's no reason for me to build in the first place. I also had a hard time with the corners of that, I like to call it skirt. The skirt of the roof. Does that make any sense? Anyway, it took me a few tries before getting those corners perfectly aligned with the rest of the roof, and when I thought I had finally cracked the code, I noticed something. I didn't realize it right away because of that diagonal corner in the bedrooms. That diagonal wall is part of the original build, so it had been there since the beginning, and because of that, I didn't notice that the octagonal roof pieces were slightly clipping inside the house. I only noticed that when I tried to do the same thing in the back of the house, and the game wouldn't let me put down the stairs, because you cannot have roof pieces and stairs touching each other. I almost threw my computer against the wall at this point, but then I was like, you know what, screw it, and made the octagonal roof pieces in the back of the house a tile smaller than the ones on the front of the house. That means the roof pieces are not perfectly aligned anymore, but it's barely noticeable. It's the back of the house anyway, no one cares about the back of the house, and there's rocks in the way and everything, so yeah. That's what I tell myself to calm down my perfectionism and be able to sleep at night. Now, about the landscaping. If you have been watching my other speed builds, you most likely know already that landscaping is not my forte. So putting this garden together felt pretty much like torture, I'm not gonna lie. Mostly because of the terrain tool. That one is terrible. It's so much more complicated than the one I remember from The Sims 2. I don't think I'll be using the terrain tool ever again after this one, honestly. The little path that goes up to that little peak with the yellow flowers was an absolute nightmare. I just wanted a small beaten path, slightly going up. Why was it so hard to do? Why, EA? Why? Oh, and those fake train tracks that I placed right next to it, I had to get rid of it. Well, most of it, because the Sims would just refuse to go through that path. They can go up foundations raised by one level, but they can't step on some wooden planks on the ground. Go figure. Anyway, other than that, there's really nothing else to talk about. I cut out most of the video anyway because I don't think you guys would want to see me fiddling with a terrain tool and stacking stones for an hour straight. So I guess the only thing left to do is to thank all the 100 beautiful people who subscribe to my channel. I'm so happy that our little corner here on YouTube is growing. I have a lot of surprises planned for the future, so I hope you will stick around for a long time so that we can keep on having fun together. Thank you so, so much, really. And with that said, I guess it's time to say goodbye. Unless you want to hear me talk some more about Final Fantasy VII. Hmm? I have a lot to say about that right now, trust me. Square Enix released some new trailers for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth this past few days, and I've been screaming and squeaking ever since. My god, every time I remember that I'll be able to play as Sephiroth, I feel like crying. I love that game so much. It's an obsession. I wish I could play the remake again. But my ex is the one that owns the game. I played it at his place, and now that we broke up and I'm too poor to afford the game myself, well, I can't do anything other than cry. Oh, I just remembered. EA had some sort of partnership with Square Enix before, right? That's why we have a Noctis outfit in The Sims, right? So, can I get Aerith's outfit to go with my house, EA? Please? To be honest, Aerith is not even my favorite character. I mean, I love her laser beam, it's so much fun to use it, but my favorite character of all is Tifa, by far. She is so cool, I wish I could play the whole game as Tifa. Oh, but let me make this clear. I'm not like those other Tifa simps out there who only like her because of her body. I couldn't care less about her body. I love her because she's kind, smart, sensitive, yet strong. Oh, she's just precious. And playing with her is so much fun. I love her mechanics, punching and kicking the living shit out of everyone. She's perfect. I can't wait to play with her again in Rebirth. And with Sephiroth. Okay, I'm sorry, I need to calm down. I should probably shut up and go before I embarrass myself even more. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, comment, tell me what you think of the house, tell me if you're also excited about the release of Rebirth so that we can go crazy together, and subscribe because I'll be back in a couple days with the second part of this speed build and you don't want to miss a thing. Trust me. See you then. Bye!